And I'm talking about the master of rhythm and tap. I'm talking about the master of the tap. Honi Coles. Chuck Green.
Thank you.
Chuck Green. Honi Coles. That's the beat. Hey, there's the name. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Chuck Green demonstrates his effortless and graceful style as he and Honi Coles, another veteran from the great era of tap dancing, warm up the audience before starting a series of masterclasses at the Riverside Studios in London. The third member of the trio is the youngest, Will Gaines, exponent of the modern bebop style of tap.
I'm gonna make it up.
He now lives in England, while Chuck and Honi remain in New York, where for nearly half a century they've been masters of their art. The heyday of tap was in the 1930s, but in the last few years they have witnessed and fostered the Great Revival. Perhaps the greatest living exponent of the traditional style, Charles Honi Coles grew up in the 20s in Philadelphia. Tap was already all the rage.
The beginning of the tap dancers, as far as I'm concerned, were all the erect, very proper dancers, like Bill Robinson, who was known as Bojangles, and Eddie Rector. Incidentally, talking of Bojangles, there's a song out called Bojangles of Harlem. Not Bojangles of Harlem, just Bojangles, I think it is. And it talks about, I like to clear this up wherever I get a chance. It talks about Bojangles, he's been in jail and he's ragged and his dog is hungry and all of that. This is entirely wrong as far as the late, great Bill Bojangles Robinson was concerned. He was probably the most fastidious person that you've ever seen in your life. Everything matched every show. He didn't drink nor smoke. He ate a quart of ice cream every night. He was the world's fastest backward runner. He was an athlete. So that old song, forget it. It's a nice melody, but forget the lyrics. Okay, I'll clear that up. I took care of that, right? Yeah. And I'll just give you, his style was erect, and what he emphasized was clarity. He didn't emphasize rhythmic patterns so much. He emphasized clarity and neatness of dancing. The dancers of that period they had a contest that they went through. One would go underneath the stage, and they all did the same step, and one would go underneath the stage and do the step, and the other would do the step on top of the stage, and the one underneath the stage would listen to see whether he was making any mistakes. And then the other one would go underneath and listen to him. So they had a real thing going as far as clarity is concerned. I'll just give you an idea of Bill Robinson. He danced very erect here. All toes. And then he did little cute things. That was Bill Robinson. And Bubbles was the man who began all of this sound. Here again, I know I'm going to have problems with the musicians. He was the man who started the bebop beat. He didn't start the sound. He didn't start the horn playing or but he started the syncopation. Like that kind of syncopation. Where prior to that, any record that you listen to prior to the 30s, you will hear the drummer go. That's his steady thing. That's his steady thing. He didn't go dropping bombs in that. So along came Bubbles, and he started where Bill Robinson was up here on his toes. Bubbles started dropping heels. The step that we're doing now, that is a sort of Bubbles thing, but the living exponent of John W. Bubbles, of the man who started the bebop era, Chuck Green. during my period, you had your music written and you stuck with the pattern of your music. But the bebop era came along, and they just, like, they played a whole different ball game. It was a whole different ball game musically, and it was a whole different ball game tap dance-wise, with people like Baby Lawrence, Teddy Hale. And you have one of the foremost exponents of the bebop style of dancing right here in England. It's been here some time, and I'm talking about my good friend Will Gaines. Go out after this chorus, Mike. Pretty, pretty, pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see the vast difference in the Bill Robinson style and the style of the bebop. And this is called, some of it, see, Will has a very distinctive style because he combines paddle and rolling with some of the wing steps and the toe steps. And paddle and rolling is just this. Dancers used to do this for 90 choruses, you know. Say, well, when is he going to say something, you know? And he's, I don't want to talk about Cheney like that, do I? So, but that's called paddle and roll. It's just a continuation of sounds. See, it doesn't matter to Will. They can play anything, and he's right with it, which is a little different thing. We used to have our music arranged to the tap. Ding and dong, the music had to go. But it's a different ball game with Will, and it's a wonderful, wonderful quality to have, you know, because then you can just walk in and say, hey, play something. He doesn't care what they play. And he's gone. And you know, beautiful sound, beautiful taps. That's the bebop era. With a little go-off thing here, we're going to conclude here. We're going to conclude. What shall we do? What shall we do? You think that's good? No, I did that last night.
Did not? I saw you.
Well, yeah,
you was cooking. I'm going to tell you. Listen, you should have been there. What a sneaky way to get into a routine.
That's all right.
Shem Sham. Bye.
Gracias.